In the beginning, we see our main protagonist named Davin who was just recently born, and in front of him standing his father who despises him because he doesn't meet his expectations. Davin was born without an arm, however, on the other hand, his cousin was born with the blessing of the sword god. He is a talented genius. Davin's parents want him to die. Many years passed, and when Kaijin was able to play on his own, Davin was not even able to walk. His mother and father just want him to die. His father feels jealous of his uncle, but he thinks that his son will be able to gain the lost reputation in his family. But Davin is just a one-armed laughingstock. At the time, when Davin learns how to walk, Kahin, on the other hand, was able to wield a sword, which is why his mother still despises him. And when Davin was able to wield the sword, Kahin became familiar with mana. One day his parents send him to help Kahin, but he later learns that his parents sold him for 300,000 luden. Kahin was beating him very badly, but no one comes forward to save him. Kajin is very happy to beat him, so that day he resolves that no matter what, one day he will definitely beat Kajin. Later, when Kajin was practicing, he easily defeats his first opponent, and then he invites Davin to fight him. But he beat him severely and then insults him. On one side where Kajin got involved in alcohol, drugs, and girls, Davin was hardworking to improve his skills. Finally, the day arrives when Davin will fight Kajin, and eventually Davin was able to defeat him. But Kajin feels very insulted, so he backstabbed our protagonist. Later, when our main protagonist opens his eyes, he found that he was bound in a chair, and in front of him stands a man who tells him that he was saved by a saint. But because he makes a contract with the devil, so he will be imprisoned for his whole life, and then the man threw Davin into prison. Davin realizes that, even though he has beaten Kajin, his parents still chose Kajij over him because he hasn't made a contract with the devil. It was a plan to save Kajin's reputation. Later, Kajin also arrives in the prison. He insults our main protagonist and leaves him to die. Davin has become very weak, and in his last moments, he has only one thought. What if he was born with 2 hands and then he dies? Strangely, Davin opens his eyes where a man calling him Vincent. He remembers that the person in front of him was one of the members of the branch families. He also realizes that he now has his right hand, and the person in front of him tries to inflict pain on his right hand using mana, so Vincent pushes him to release his hand. The man got angry and threatened him that one day his son will crush him mercilessly. While the man was leaving, he tells him to wait for the true sword's day, and then he will show him who he is. After the man leaves, Vincent remembers the memory of the person in whose body he is. His mother died just after he was born, and his father never loves him nor care for him. His sibling always bullies him, just because he was not able to do anything in return. He then realizes that his soul gets swept into someone else's body. Just then he hears someone calling for him, who reveals to be the actual owner of the body, the real Vincent. But now his name is Julian. He informed him that now he is a minor god. He also reveals that if his spiritual energy disappears entirely, he will also die. Julian then shows him his entire memories, how people treat him, and how even though he can beat them, but he still didn't because he never wants attention on himself, because he wants to entirely on his life mission. Julian then tells him that if he knows about Archdemon Davin and Hero King Kajin. Upon listening to this, Vincent was taken aback. Julian goes on to tell him that 500 years ago, a one-armed swordsman named Davin escaped from Samian's prison. And while using a contract with a demon, he devoured thousands of lives in order to become stronger. Is it also rumors that he has killed more than 10,000 people? That's why he is remembered in history as a great demon. Upon listening to this, Davin becomes confused, wondering how he reincarnated 500 years ago in the future. In addition, he also becomes furious because his family not only abandoned him in a prison to die, but also fabricated a false story. Eventually, he calms down because being angry will change anything. Davin tells Julian that all of this story is fabricated. Julian then asks him if he is also from that era. Davin responded yes. Later, Julian tells him that the hero worked with the greatest hero of that time, his best friend, named Sun, who to Davin's surprise turns out to be the same boy he knew by the name Ashland, who at that time was a faithful admirer of Davin. When Davin was in the prison, visited Davin several times, and he is the only one who believed that Davin hadn't done anything wrong. It was accused. Ashland also assures Davin that he will take revenge for him. But after that day, Ashland never visits him, because, since that time, he had become the family patriarch and had made it his life's mission to uphold what Julian refers to as the achievement. possibility relationship to achieve goal of surpassing family Samson and facing truth for our protagonist. As is so, it wasn't a coincidence that his friend had abandoned the family they were part of and created a new one in order to uncover the truth. Later, Julian told David that if he accepts his mission and completes it, he will remain with his body forever, giving him even an incredible blessing. Our protagonist finally expressed gratitude to his good friend and decided to take over the mission that was left behind in order to surpass the family that betrayed him. In one instance, Vincent begins to feel his body becoming very heavy, despondent, and collapsing easily due to how weak he is. As a result, he felt the need to call Julian and inquire as to why he had never learned the art of swordsmanship. Julian replies that he had a disability that didn't allow him to learn it. Vincent asks him this question because he discovers that this body has an exoskeleton blessing. But Julian doesn't understand anything, so our main protagonist explains to him that allows a person to store mana in any part of their body or as far as their eyes. The next day, according to Julian Vincent's words and explanation, the listener is required to wake up and understand how things work in that new era in the world. Because now people don't store mana inside their body, but inside the stars. Because storing mana inside your heart also risks your life. The more stars an individual has, the more powerful he is. At the night, when Vincent was meditating to increase mana proficiency, his servant named Winston enters the room and mocks him to create a mess inside the room. Vincent orders him to bring him some fresh clothes, but Winston declines, telling him that he is not here for doing such types of work. Vincent threatens Winston, telling him that he can take his clothes, but by doing this, Winston's job will be in danger. Upon listening to this, Winston brings him new clothes. Later, our protagonist ordered Wilson to bring a 1-meter wooden sword. Wilson asks him what if he refuses. Vincent replies that nothing, he will go himself. Wilson gets scared and agrees to bring a wooden sword for our protagonist. Later, Wilson brings him a sword and leaves. After getting a sword, Vincent starts to play around in simple terms and starts doing practice to make his body strong, but gets tired just after swinging it for few times. Just then, someone destroys the puppet with which our protagonist is training. He revealed that his name is Ravan Anicaps, and insulted our protagonist by calling him useless. He is the son of the man our protagonist meets just after reincarnating in this new body. He is also one of the participants of the Assembly of True Swords. Julian explains to him that it is a competition in which numerous children of martial families are gathered in order to fight using real swords. The winner of the competition gets the chance to fight the descendant of the direct family. Vincent then insults Ravan and his father. Ravan gets angry upon listening to this and put his wooden sword on the neck of our protagonist. Despite knowing that he will be lost in an instant, our protagonist also points his sword toward him with such a confident face that even Ravan gets scared seeing it. Vincent tells him that if was frightened by a wooden sword, how will he fight in the competition using real swords? Ravan gets angry and launches an attack. That is all for today. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.